Breaking up is hard to do, especially when it's with our doctor. You know, sometimes we don't break up with someone even though we really are unhappy and know the relationship has run its course. But the fear of being alone prevents us from actually doing the thing we know we need to do.
I am not talking about me.
Well, this is times 10 when it's our doctor. How are we going to get refills? How am I going to get in to see anyone else? How do I get my records without them knowing or hurting their feelings? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about, so stick around. The first step is to take an honest account of what the issues are. The only way to make sure you don't fall into the same dysfunctional working relationship with a different doctor is to take the time to reflect on why the current one isn't working. There may be issues with the clinic itself. Is the office too unorganized? Is the clinic too far or too crowded? Are you waiting forever in the waiting room? Any issues regarding the actual running of the clinic or how inconvenient it may be for you are reasonably easy issues to find alternatives to. Although many clinics these days face the same problems of too many patients and too little time, you'll find some clinics are just better managed than others. There may be issues with your doctor's style. Do you feel like you have their full attention? Does your doctor let you talk and take your input when making their recommendations? If your issue is more about just not being on the same page as your doc, take a beat and think about what are the important characteristics that you want. Do you want someone who will just cut through the noise and tell you what to do? Or do you want someone who will lay out all the options and then let you decide? And by the way, there's absolutely no right or wrong answer to this. How we like to go about our healthcare decisions is actually very personal.
It is important to have chemistry.
Once you have an idea what characteristics you prefer, you can then be specific when asking friends, family, or other docs for referrals.
I would like another doctor.
For example, you can say, I'm looking for a rheumatologist who will just lay it out for me and tell me what I should do. Or you could say, I'm looking for a rheumatologist who will take into account my preferences when coming up with recommendations. And then there may be issues with your health. Are you still not feeling well or haven't felt like you've gotten any answers? This issue may be harder to resolve because you not feeling well may actually be the result of a combination of things. It may be because you don't have the right diagnosis yet or you don't have the most precise diagnosis yet. It may be that you haven't found the right treatment plan, or it may be the result of side effects of the treatments that you are on. In these types of cases, I find when looking for another opinion and wanting to get the biggest bang for our buck, meaning we want to minimize the risk that we, yet again, go through the time and energy with another doctor just to end up not feeling any better, it's best to find someone with experience in cases like yours. After we've taken some time to reflect on what exactly is not working, when you want to break up with your rheumatologist, you need to have a plan. What does that mean? All right, so it means it's not advisable to make a rash decision based on one bad appointment. A bad appointment is certainly something you should take into account when making the call to move on, but do a little investigation before just pulling the plug. Even if you don't have the actual replacement doc scheduled, have a plan at least on how you're going to find that replacement. Have you gotten a referral from a friend? Does your primary care doctor have a rheumatologist that they like or they work with a lot? Is there someone in your insurance plan that you have heard good things about? Is a rheumatologist actually what you need? Sometimes our frustration can come from the fact that we are not seeing the right type of specialist. Perhaps we need to see a pain management doctor or a neurologist. Or maybe the help we need is actually more from a dietitian, a psychotherapist, or a physical therapist. Now, when it comes to finding a replacement, finding someone with experience in cases like yours is a lot easier said than done, I know. So the first step is we gotta know what kind of case we actually are. This is where your current diagnosis and what other things your doctor has considered comes in handy. Are you being treated for RA, but at one time someone thought you had lupus? Have you been told you have back arthritis but are currently being treated for fibromyalgia? I always recommend asking the current providers you have in your life right now if they know anyone who would be good for you. And really ask everyone. Your primary care doc, your gynecologist, your therapist, your masseuse, your physical therapist, your chiropractor, your life coach, your dentist, your ophthalmologist, your whoever. You may be surprised what nuggets they are sitting on. Once you find a few names, call to schedule your first appointment and ask the person on the phone, does the doc see many patients with XYZ, whatever condition you have been treated for or you might be worried about? Is the doctor experienced with condition XYZ? The schedulers in both big and small clinics, they see the real deal. They see the patients as they are coming out of their appointments, and they hear the stories from people on the phone making appointments. They also know what kinds of patients their doc is particularly good with and what kind they struggle to connect with. The easiest place to find a subspecialist or someone who can take your care to the so-called next level is to go to an academic medical center. These are medical clinics that are associated with medical schools and doctor training programs, and the docs that work there not only see patients, but also do a lot of teaching and research.
Mr. Donaghy, I'm calling you from Cornell Medical Center.
What that means for you is they are usually up to date with the latest and greatest info there is on any particular specialty. Now, just like everything else, these types of clinics aren't perfect. But if you're looking for a third or fourth opinion and the main issues you keep coming up against is that no one can come to a diagnosis or you haven't found anything that's helped you, I would look into your nearest academic center. As opposed to other relationships we have in our lives, it's not absolutely necessary to have the hard conversation with the doctor you want to leave. It can be helpful to discuss it so that they can make sure you have enough medications and all your records get transferred correctly. However, if things haven't been going well and that is the reason you want to break up, totally understand the hesitation to have that hard conversation about leaving. To make sure the transition to a new doc is as smooth as possible, however, you will need to arrange to have enough medications in between appointments and get your records to your new doctor. When it comes to medications, there are a couple ways you can handle this depending on the type of medication you're on. For things like anti-inflammatories or what may be considered low-risk medications like hydroxychloroquine or methotrexate, you may want to ask your primary care doctor to fill them for a short period of time while you're in between specialists. Every doc has a different comfort level with these medications, so there's no guarantee that they will, but it's worth discussing. If you're on a biologic or more potent immune system targeted medications, it may take some more planning. You'll want to have an appointment with the new doctor on the calendar before leaving the old one, so you don't have any gaps in your treatment. Keep in mind that docs will not usually refill potent immune system targeted medication if you haven't been seen in clinic regularly. Regarding medical records, this is something you can handle with your clinic's staff. They will usually have a medical records release form for you to complete and sign, and then this is completely handled between the two clinics, albeit with varying success. I also always recommend having your own copies of your records and test results because in a world where everyone still relies on fax machines, things can get and do get lost.
Waiting for that fax confirmation.
I do want to emphasize that whether you decide to tell them or not, 99% of docs will not be hurt or upset if you decide to move on. In fact, most of the time, they won't be surprised. The doctor-patient relationship is just that. It's a relationship. And when things aren't going well, they usually feel it too. At the end of the day, most people in healthcare just want you to get the help you need and to feel better. So we've gone through some of these, but I want to review them. I like giving you some conversation starters. So if you're thinking of finding a new doc, take some time to reflect on why. Was the office too unorganized? Is the clinic too far or too crowded, or you're waiting forever in the waiting room? Do you feel like you have your doctor's attention? Did your doc let you talk and take your opinion into account when making their recommendations? Do you still not feel well or don't feel like you have gotten really any answers? Where can you look and who can you ask for a rheumatology referral? Keep in mind, ask everyone. You want to also map out your logistics. Which medications does your current rheumatologist prescribe, and how many refills do you have left, and how can you make sure that you're covered during the transition period? Do you have copies of your records or lab results? Start collecting those now for your new doc. Having a good working relationship with your doctor is key in getting you on the right track and feeling better. So I hope this video has helped, giving you some things to think about, and also empowering you that it's absolutely okay to get that second, third, or fourth opinion. You deserve it. Thanks, and if you like this, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.